get started, welcome everyone to the Modern Day Overthinker podcast. My name is Colin and I'm your host. Thank you for tuning in. Today's guest is Nikki Murray. Thanks for being here, Nikki, and sweating it out. It's a little warm in the house. It's a weird season right now. I don't know when to turn the air on. So I wanted to go ahead and get started and have you introduce yourself. You're like me, you do a lot of different stuff, and just kind of wanted to give you the floor to introduce yourself and let people know what you've been up to. You're a very busy person.
Yeah. Hey, so yes, I'm Nikki Murray. I am the literal, I call myself the jack of all trades in the Quad Cities. I've done stand-up comedy, improv comedy. I've been in the entertainment industry for 10 years. I do burlesque. I am a makeup artist, soon to be a licensed esthetician, graduate from Capri College. All of the things, mom to a toddler, wife, all of that. So I live a very busy life, crazy life, but it's a fun life.
What started first, entertainment-wise?
Improv is actually where I got my start. So I auditioned for The Blacklist in 2012, and actually that's how I met Steve Jennings, who's another local comedian.
Yep.
He and I were in the same quote unquote pledge class. So we literally
Sounds like a fraternity.
It kind of was. We were called the pledges and all of that. But we literally learned improv together and kind of came up in the scene together. So that was pretty cool. We have lots of long-standing history there, and that's how I know James Draper and go back several years with him too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I got my start in improv, and then a couple months later, I want to say 6 months later, I started doing stand-up.
Okay.
And that was in June 2013, I started doing stand-up. And then February 2014 was when I did my first musical comedy act, and got sucked into the musical comedian genre, and that's what I've kind of exclusively done ever since. So yeah. Here we
are. What instruments do you play?
I just play a ukulele.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And not well.
Not well?
Not well.
Just in a comedic way?
Just enough to make a song, and that's about it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I am not someone who plays any instruments. I quickly, like we were talking about earlier, having ADHD, when I was younger, I would jump from, I started with the trumpet, and I was like, nah. And then I tried the drum set for a while, and I was like, nah. And then I was like, no more instruments.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of...
Well, as a kid, I was super into piano and had a little keyboard and kind of self-taught myself all, piano things, songs. I would, make my own little songs on piano and keyboard and stuff like that when I was a kid. But... yeah, ukulele is obviously totally different from a piano and keyboard.
Oh, yeah.
A ukulele is a lot easier to take around to open mics than a giant keyboard setup.
Oh, for sure. Or even a guitar. I know some people do the guitar thing. That's even...
Yeah, see, with a guitar, I tried to learn it, but my hands are super small, and they don't stretch super well, so trying to hit all of the... frets? I'm probably making someone roll their eyes super hard listening to this, but I couldn't hit all the things I needed to hit or put my fingers down. So it was a bad time.
Maybe a bass.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be the musical comedian bass player. That's a niche.
It's one I haven't seen.
Yeah.
So, but the first time I met you was doing stand-up. That was a couple years ago. It was probably before I started. I think I saw you because you kind of pop in and out.
I do. I'm not really... I used to be so active in the stand-up scene, and I was going everywhere and doing all the things. But since having my daughter and since getting more into the burlesque side, I've really scaled back on stand-up. So I pretty much just... I don't know what to call myself. I'm there. I'm like a vampire. If you invite me, I'll show up. But other than that, I'm not really involved anymore.
You're like Bobby Ray Bunch. You just pops up.
I'm literally like the Bobby Ray Bunch now. I will pop up when invited, do my thing, and then peace out, and you'll never see me again for another 2 years.
Yeah. And he's also a guy that does a bunch of different stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even think I've gotten a chance. I've seen him. He's very funny. I think I've seen him do music too.
Yeah, he did musical comedy and stuff a
Okay.
little bit. I don't think as
He's
exclusively,
he's
but
a guitar
he did,
singer guy. Yeah. So, well, let's get into. We have a similar background. We both went to Catholic school, so
Yeah,
that's
that was fun times.
yeah, interesting times. How was how small was your school? Because mine was pretty small.
It was small. So there were only 8 girls in my class.
Okay.
That's how small our class was.
And this was K through 8, right?
We were pre-K through 8th grade.
Okay, pre-K
so
through 8.
I have been going to Catholic school since preschool, and I transferred to public school in 8th grade. In the middle of 8th grade. But there was just like a lot of mean girl stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
And like my parents were sick of me being bullied relentlessly, basically, because I wasn't the rich kid in class. So they pulled me and my brother out of Catholic school and stuck us in public school, and that was a culture shock.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge change.
That was a culture shock we were not prepared for in any way, shape, or form.
Especially in 8th grade.
Yeah, because it wasn't an awkward enough time. Like, I had never, like...
It's already weird.
I mean, we lived in uniforms. So
Yeah,
we had uniforms, and then we had just, basically sweat clothes, pajamas, stuff like that. So transitioning in, it's like I was not dressing like a cool kid for sure, coming straight out of Catholic school, and they let me know that.
Like,
there was no mercy from 14-year-olds. It was great.
No, they're still savages. That hasn't changed at all. So, yeah, the culture is so different. I didn't experience the culture difference really until, because I went through high school.
Oh, God.
You're
one of those, huh?
Yeah, I'm one of those that did the whole...
Am I allowed to take a drink on here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Cool.
But, so it was even more different, but that could have, I don't know, yours might have been more impactful based on the time because of, oh man, when I was 13 to 14, I was...
It's a miserable age.
It
is the worst. I don't wish being ages 12 to 15 on any human being. I dread that age range for
your daughter.
For my kid because I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with you. I'm just going to be like, I'm shipping you off to grandma and grandpa's for the next 3 years because I don't know. Like, I know I fought with my mom relentlessly. It was just constant battles back and forth in our house, and it was not fun. So I am bringing back that Catholic school, just praying.
Because it's a rough time.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you start noticing? We'll start with the since we already talked about ADD, ADHD.
Yeah.
So when did you notice that starting to be a thing? Were you diagnosed, or did you just kind of like figure it out? Like, this just makes sense.
You know what? I was not diagnosed with ADHD until I was about 3 months postpartum. So I got my official diagnosis a little over a year ago.
I'm not that long ago either.
Yeah, actually, a little over a year ago. But I had noticed through, like, in a sense terrible, but meme culture in Facebook land where we all just diagnose ourselves with our mental illnesses based on the cutesy memes that float around.
Yeah, I had a therapist on that talked about that being a problem, but I get it though.
Yeah, I get it's helpful, but it's a double-edged sword. It is.
Yeah,
it's
you should
helpful,
still check with somebody.
But people are just diagnosing themselves, but they're also looking at things in a very fluffy. We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
But I know I was like, oh man, there's a lot of things that kind of line up for me here. And I had already had a anxiety and depression diagnosis from my mid-20s, which I struggled with anxiety and depression, super bad. Always had really bad anxiety as a kid. I would get really bad social anxiety. I had separation anxiety from my parents and things like that. And the depression really, really kicked in my 20s during my first marriage. That's all I'm going to go into from that.
Yeah.
But I found out from, and this is like, it's kind of, this is sad, but I ended up having really, really bad postpartum depression after my daughter was born. And
common.
It's common, and it's not talked about enough, honestly, but it hit me in a very sneaky way. Like, it's one of those things that just kind of